would you be in favor of parking a fleet of rundown mobile homes in the middle of Beacon Hill Park? A citizens group says that is essentially what is being allowed to happen right now on the Gorge Waterway. People are abandoning boats in the gorge, leaving them to rot or even sink. The city says it can't do much about the problem, which people say is a risk to the environment and to boaters. A-News reporter Andrew Johnson has the details. He's live in our newsroom. Andrew?
Eric, the most vocal critic of the abandoned boats that are piling up on the gorge is the man behind Victoria Harbour Ferries, who's out on the water every day and is very worried about what he sees. Barry Hobbis welcomes a special tour group aboard one of his Victoria Harbour ferries for a scenic one-hour jaunt through the Gorge Waterway, a place that still brings him back to his childhood.
This was just a great place to come and fish. We used to catch herring here, we learned to swim here, and then at some point it became totally polluted.
Thanks to hundreds of volunteers, the gorge has since been revitalized. But now Hobbis says there is a new problem: abandoned, rotting boats. He says threaten to undo the hard work of so many.
What happens when a vessel sinks or a vessel leaks gasoline, diesel, or other waste? This is a natural flushing action in here, and you can see the same piece of wood float up and down this harbor for weeks. Some have sunk and been refloated.
Hobbis and the Vic West Community Association have noticed over the past year the number of derelict vessels is on the rise and may also pose a risk to boaters and paddlers.
At this time of year, especially with these low tides, we're very concerned about whether or not we're going to hit an obstruction.
You wouldn't park 3 acres of large mobile homes in Beacon Hill Park.
The majority of the waterway falls under federal jurisdiction, and the concerned groups say they've had no luck persuading Transport Canada to do anything.
Just been talking to a brick wall.
The City of Victoria says the boats are an ongoing problem, and it only has the authority to remove boats from a small water lot adjacent to Banfield Park. Bylaw officers have left a notice on one vessel demanding it be moved within 24 hours. But if it is then tied up further down the gorge, the city is essentially powerless.
We share in the neighbors' frustration over this issue. It is something that is ongoing and seems to be growing.
Hobbis and the Vic West Community Association plan to continue their lobby until the federal government will listen.
I want them gone, and I would think that the majority of residents along here and people in the community and tourists that come up here and paddlers come up here would tell you the same thing.
Eric, derelict boats have been a problem for other communities on the island. People in Brentwood Bay were fuming about abandoned vessels at the entrance to Gowland Todd Park last year. Some were partially submerged and contained dozens of batteries. Some of the problem there has been cleaned up, and you remember the abandoned tugboat in Sauk Harbour that caught fire last year, something people along the gorge would be horrified to see happen in Victoria.
They certainly would. Andrew Johnson reporting. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.